Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and in this video I want to share my personal opinions on where the economy is at in the United States right now and why I think it might be a little bit misunderstood for a lot of individuals. As always, I hope you can take something away from this video, and with that being said, let's get right into it. So for this video, like I said, I want to share some of my thoughts on the economy, and I have not unfortunately been around for 100 years to experience all of the highs and all of the lows that the United States economy has been in the last 100 years. But I wanted to just share my opinions as a 27-year-old in 2024, and my opinions right now are that I think it is a little bit difficult, right? I'm not going to sit here and claim that the economy's in a great place or anything like that, with interest rates being pretty high, meaning that people taking out debt, which a lot of people do for one reason or another. Generally speaking, for larger purchases, people will take on debt, right? A vehicle and a house, right? Very, very few people can just go, to the seller and say, okay, here's your briefcase full of cash. When do we sign the papers? That's just not how it works. People go into debt for the house and they're stuck in it for 20, 30 years, whatever, sometimes more, depending on what happens in their life. But high interest rates make this difficult, right? They make getting into a home more difficult because your monthly payments are going to be higher, and it's just not something that many people can comfortably afford with where the median income is at right now. This is a good transition into the next point, where income, right? How does income stack up to the cost of goods, generally speaking? And my opinion here is that it's not great, right? Because we know that the median income, which is a good indicator. I don't like using average. I like using median, especially when it comes to income, where we have huge fluctuations, right? The United States has a very large number of the world's wealthiest individuals, and a bunch of doctors, bunch of people making a lot of money, which can skew averages off. When using a median, I should say, you get pretty close to right in the middle, and that's why I like using it for income. But it's really not that high on an individual basis. It's probably I think right around $50,000 on an annual basis. And we know I've made countless videos on this, going over how much life might cost in 2024, and it is pretty tight, right? You're not really left with a lot of money left over unless you have unless you're cutting a lot of corners, right? Maybe you're not eating, which is, no one recommends that, but maybe you have low rent, right? Maybe you have a bunch of roommates, so your rent instead of 1,000 is 300 or something like that. But the cost of goods elsewhere, right? Food, gas, insurance, all of those things are mandatory, unfortunately, and they stack up. And unfortunately, the median income, in my personal opinion, isn't in a position where, including all of these essential expenses that are just part of living, and I've gone over this in videos as well, where the cost to just be around, to work, and to contribute is actually pretty expensive, right? You think that with all of our work, we would be reaping quite a few rewards, but I think it's not really the case, right? Where we spend a lot of money to be around, to work, to contribute, and that's just the reality, whether you like it or not. But the median income, the point that I'm trying to make here is just not really up to a comfortable place, right? There's a lot of budgeting that needs to take place. There's a lot of planning that needs to take place in order to make your median income actually set you up for success later in life. And this is something that we just don't see, right? This is why a huge chunk of Americans can't afford an emergency $1,000 expense. This is why a huge percentage of Americans do not have that much in retirement, and the list goes on and on and on. The statistics for all of those kind of details financially in the United States are not they're not pretty, right? So this is a reality. I think those 2 points, right, where income is at, and where the cost of goods sit are the two most important things that people, politicians, economists, myself will consider when trying to get a feel for what how healthy, how productive an economy is. And we might be very productive, but does that necessarily mean that the vast majority of individuals here are living great lives? Not necessarily. And this is kind of this is going to lead me into my next point, where I think there's a misunderstanding of the role of people in power, right? Politicians, the government, the Senate, and everybody over there. I think a lot of individuals, here in the United States, especially true right now because we have elections coming up in less than 2 months, right? It is September 16, right? So they're very, very close, and these kind of discussions are being thrown around left and right. I think a lot of individuals like to think that the government and people in charge, in quotes, are here to make all of our lives very, very easy, right? And everybody will throw a fit when things aren't going as they please, right? When they can't have their cake and eat it too. And this is, although it might not be a popular opinion, this is my own personal opinion, where they're not really there, right? Our presidents, our electees, whatever, all of these people in power, they're not there to make our lives a cakewalk, right? They're there to make sure things stay relatively in line, right? There's 300 some million people here in the United States. Managing that in all of its chaos is impossible, right? For the most part, unless we were all hive mind, right? We were all robots and we could be programmed. That's not the reality. So I think it does come off as a misconception that these people are here to, allow you to have a 5-bedroom house and, have a couple Range Rovers and have a hot tub and have be able to go on family vacations and be able to, book your next trip on, Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos and company to see the stars and so on. This isn't a reality, right? They're not there to make our lives a cakewalk. They're there to keep things in line. It is on our shoulders, right? As individuals, as citizens, as, contributors to society, both economically and individually and as a community, to do our part to, take what we're given and make the most of it. I think a lot of individuals just don't have this mindset where they need to do much on their own. They want things to kind of be handed to them. They want to have their cake and eat it too, and that's just not the reality. We live in a time where I think we are generally relatively spoiled. There are things that are difficult. I'm not going to deny that within an economy, right? The cost of living and so on. But it does ultimately fall on our shoulders to try to set ourselves up for success. A good example, right? If you are in a position where, you're check to check, right? Like many individuals are, it is on your shoulders to step back and say, well, why am I check to check? Is it because, society sucks, right? Everything sucks. Everybody's out to get me. Or are there things in my life that I can control, that I maybe didn't make the right decision on, right? Am I living in an apartment that's just far beyond financially what I should be paying, right? And this is one that I see a lot of, right? Individuals, especially in big cities, paying $2,000 for rent for a 1 bedroom, and they're living alone. I mean, their income isn't, $150,000, which is if your income is that high, okay, maybe I can justify that, but that's just not, if your income is anything below that, I think that's a pretty difficult ask. And I think this happens a lot where people want to just live. They want to live the life that they want to live, but they don't really want to take that much responsibility to try to get there, right? Like I said, the simple analogy of wanting your cake and eating it too, or wanting your cake and being able to eat it too is perfect here. So back to the first talking points I had, right, where I am in agreement that the economy, in quotes, isn't really set up for everybody to be extremely wealthy and, be able to take trips and have houses and lavish vacations and, all of those types of things. That's not a reality. But I don't really like it when we when I mean, and I am including myself in here too, because I'm not perfect by any means either. But when we start trying to blame politicians, our presidents, our these higher ups, right, in a society for our problems, when we do have the power to make changes in our own life, right? We have all of the resources in the world, with the internet, with videos like this, with videos by educators, right? I'm not an educator, right? I'm not licensed or anything like that. I'm just sharing my opinions. But there's people that have doctorates, right? That talk about, how to do this, how to do that. There's the endless sea of information online to try to make your life financially better, right? Given different circumstances. And unfortunately, I think our education system within what's required does fail in this aspect of life. I think financial education and just life skills and so on is just something that they expect everybody to just learn on their own. But by the time that you learn these skills, it's too late, right? You're in debt. You're in $100,000 of student debt, and I don't want to go in, I don't want to go on forever in this video here, but generally speaking, I think there is a misconception that people have where they want everything, and they want everything in the world, and they want it to be easy, right? And that's just not the reality. And the earlier that you can accept that in life and actually start doing things for yourself, the earlier that you can start taking action to better your life, whether it be financially or physically, whatever it is, the better you're going to be, right? And this oftentimes comes with a cost of being able to accept that you're not the wealthiest, right? You don't have the type of the spending that you're doing does not equate to the money that you're making. And this is something that is with everybody, right? A lot of people overspend, and when they shouldn't. So the earlier that you can acknowledge that life is a marathon and you need to take things step by step, and it oftentimes comes with not really living a lavish lifestyle that you might want to, depending on your income, is something that you need to do in order for you to better your long-term financial health. So there you have it. Those are a few of my thoughts in regards to how I interpret the economy right now. I know I just mentioned a couple talking points on it, but I wanted to keep this video relatively short and sweet, as well as some thoughts as to what I believe are some misconceptions that people generally have about the economy and about our leaders and how they control our economy as well. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of details, many details throughout our life that are just outside of our control. But I hope this video kind of acted as encouragement to take a step towards the right direction, right? To take initiative, and look at your life through a honest, focal lens, and try to make adjustments to better your life for the long term. As always, if you've stuck along this far in the video, I want to thank you so much for your time today. And as always, happy financing.